Okay, very cool. Very cool. Good. I'm glad to see you guys. I know it's bright and early for you, George. You're just getting rock and rolling. Joe, it's great to see you. I love your background. What I want to do today, what we're going to be working our way through is the 6 ways to get out of a rut. And raise your hand if you've ever been in a rut, right? Like, I mean, let's just get real. It's happened to all of us. And before I do that, though, I am going to give you a super quick teaser on Monday's training. Our Monday calls are leadership based. We're going to do leadership calls. And the teaser for Monday, the topic is going to be called the five tough love strategies for you to lead a better group of employees, right? It's going to be tough love strategies for you to be a better leader. And the teaser for that is going to be, this is a perfect example. We want you to stop giving out participation trophies to your crummy employees. All right. Your crummy employees are crummy for a reason, and we do not want to reward average behavior. Mediocre is one of the worst words we can see. It's one of the worst words in the language for a small business owner. And there's a couple of things that happen. You reward their behavior. Number one, they get used to it for being average, and you have to give out participation trophies, and you have to hold their hand. You have to suck their thumb. You got to make them feel better about themselves. And you all have those employees. We've all had them. That reinforces the bad behavior. But number two, what happens is you also you neglect your great employees. I personally have done this numerous times. I've been in this scene several times over the 20 years I was in practice, and I ignored the really, really good employees because I was always dealing with the very average ones. So cut that out. Let's stop. And there's going to be a lot of strategies on Monday that work our way through that and several other things. And so that's what Monday is going to be all about. So let's get to it. I think you guys have some paperwork that I downloaded. If not, I'm going to pull those graphs up as we work our way through this. And we're just going to let it rip, right? Like, we're going to get this thing going, which is number one, right? If you look at your outline, what we're going to do, it says, don't abandon the basics, right? So the opening thought here is a rut is defined as a dull, unpromising course of life. We've all slipped into them. And this holds true too for a lot of people that are just getting started. When you get started, a lot of these same principles hold true in a small business. But number one, basically, do not abandon the basics is critically important, because what happens is when you get started in a business, there's typically certain behaviors that are happening that get you rolling, right? There's certain things that you do, like you wake up early, you're exercising, you're listening to podcasts. And then what happens is you become successful, you get busy, your business is flourishing, and you get down in the weeds, and you're busy doing the business and working on production. And then those little habits get out. And the biggest of which is what we call accountability, right? Like, you stop being accountable for your own daily actions because you just get too busy to do those things, to do the basics. But more importantly, you forget to hold your employees accountable, and then they start doing less work. They start letting their basics get out. And then all of a sudden your stats are going up, and then your stats are going down, right? And I actually have a quick graph. This comes out of a different book that I'm writing right now. And it's the company start, and we can apply this. This is actually a book on karma, but it holds true for numerous things, but particularly this for us. And it's company starts, you start having the behaviors, you start having the actions, you start having some success, you get some more success, and you do not reinvest for the future. You don't get focused on how to grow the business correctly. You get super busy with this success. The worst thing that can happen is you actually hit a goal. You set a goal and you actually hit it. And then you think you're on easy street, right? We all think we're on easy street when we hit that goal. And then we quit. Not only do we not reinvest correctly to grow to that next level, we stop doing the things that got us there. And then, as you can see, the dotted line, there's this old pattern where the stats go down. And it's always this cat and mouse with your stats where you're trying to keep up with, what did I do? How did it work? What do I have to do next? And then it's up and down, up and down, up and down. Joe, you ever had that happen? You've been in business a while.
Happens all the time.
Yep.
To this state, from the beginning to now.
Yep. And there's a lot of different factors that go involved too. And we're going to work our way through some more of those in some different trainings. But it's really critical that we stay super focused on the basics. For example, having a highly organized day. So George, if I ask you, why would it be so important to have a super highly organized day?
Well, looking at it from just having those basic actions done, I know if I do those, that, we were just talking about this earlier, if I get those actions done, no matter whatever happens, I know my day is going to go well. I may have to deal with things that didn't come up, but I'll be able to handle it when it does.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. You have a foundation, but on top of that, I see this a lot, particularly in the in medical clinics. I see this on a daily basis, and I even wrote about it. You get off track in practice. Things come up and things happen, and you've got a day where you've got certain things to do, and then you just get off track. Something comes up, and all of a sudden, if you don't have a highly organized day, and if you have not prioritized your calendar correctly, you can't get back on track. You don't have the ability to get refocused and back on your task at hand. And what are those really high dollar productive behaviors that you need to get through your day? And I actually called this, if you guys remember, I've talked about this before, it's called the big pile of crap, right? And you guys remember in Jurassic Park where they're driving along and all of a sudden they pull out and there's this big, huge pile of dinosaur crap. That's what I call the end of a day. I've had so many employees or so many clients that we go through their day and it's like, well, where's your stats? Well, where's your work, your checklist? What the employees do? And they don't have any answers. And it's like, well, what in the world happened? And it's because they got through their day, they got off track, and next thing you know, they're at the end of the day has come and they turn into me a big, huge pile of crap. Happens all the freaking time. So that's why it's so important. You have to prioritize the calendar, and you also need to get super, super focused on what's going to be the most important projects for your day every single day. Joe, do you have anything to add to that?
I tend to be a little bit more of an optimist. You see a big pile of crap. I see a big pile of free fertilizer.
Hey, you know what? That's actually very true. But you still got to shovel it one way or the other.
This is true.
Yeah, it's very, very, very important to think about it in those terms. The next thing, holding yourself accountable. How are you accountable? How are you responsible for everything that's going on in your practice? Most of my clients are in the medical space, or what are you doing right versus what are you doing wrong? If you were consulting yourself, what would you say to yourself, right? Like, how are you holding yourself accountable to the things that you should be doing? Are you getting on social media first thing in the morning, or are you doing some meditation? Are you doing some journaling? Are you staring at Facebook? Do you binge watch Netflix, or do you read business books? Those are the things that you really need to take a look at and map out and write down and write them all out, so that you can at least hold yourself accountable, which will intuitively, you'll just do it more with your employees. Because if you can't do it for yourself, you can't give away what you don't have. You're not going to do it for them. You're not going to hold them accountable. All right. Next thing is, what are you doing to learn? What's your personal development program look like? On a daily basis, it's the same as what I was just saying. What are you doing that's allowing you to be a little bit better version of yourself, right? The better that you are, the better you're going to attract better people into your life. So what does that look like? Are you reading something, journaling, exercising? Are you eating total crap foods? Or are you trying to eat healthy? All those things add up. Are you drinking too much? Are you smoking? Do you smoke cigarettes? There's little bitty things. They don't seem big, but on the surface, but they are. You wake up and you're hungover, it's going to be very challenging for you to get super focused for your day, right? You're just going to be scrambling to get to work on time. What do you do when you're in your car? I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, if you're in your car, you listen to these, we just got in the car this morning and I jumped in the car going to the gym. The gym is 10 minutes away. It's 5:45 in the morning. Literally, we turn the radio on, we turn the car on, the radio's on, and it's some DJs, and they are literally I'm not even going to bring up what they were talking about, but it was an extremely negative conversation. And then it's like, what in the world? I mean, it was the first thing I heard from besides my better half. The first words I heard from a human being was extremely disturbing. It's like, why would they even put this on this should not even be out in public. And this is public radio. This is just like Charleston, South Carolina. This is just what people listening to. And most people don't even realize that there's such a problem. You fill your mind with crap. That's what you're going to give out. I mean, you cannot put that junk in your mind. It's really, really, really critical, important. George, what's your personal development program look like?
Always try to start off the morning with meditation, exercise during the day, do some journaling, and personal development. I try to do something, develop my leadership skills every day, my technical competence in accounting, and then more business development. So sales and marketing, or learning systems to implement in a business.
Good. Very good. Joe, you don't really sleep much, so I don't know what your morning routines work.
Well, I have the weird issue of when I get an idea, I will stay up until I finish everything around that idea. So as an example, this morning I got to sleep at 3:30 a.m. and I was up at 8:30. But my problem is I'm sharpest in the morning hours. So those two things tend to conflict with each other every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. You sleep less than anybody I know. I got to give you a lot of credit. I'll give you a lot of credit.
The lack of sleep I have has a detrimental effect to my beauty.
That's okay. That's okay. We still love you.
There you go.
All right. So one of the final things on number one, and this one takes a while, but we're going to start to speed this up a little bit, is hiring better. Once you get here's what happens. If anybody can relate to this, it's me. I've had 150 employees in my career, when you're super busy, it gives you the excuse to let your hiring process go out the window, and you're just 2 or 3 people leave, and you have to plug those holes. And you hire crummy people, you hire crummy staff, and then you become a victim in your own mind, because it's like, well, that's the best I can do. There's no good employee. That's the one thing I'm hearing in 2023 all the time, and it's not true. It's totally invalid. It's just a story people are running, is that there's no good employees out there. There's no good workers. That's not true. They're out there, but you have to be a better version of you, and you have to spend the time and do the process the right way to attract them into your world, and also to make sure you vet them correctly and you onboard them correctly. It's super, super critical to think about it in those terms. Okay. Number 2, what we want to do, set shorter term activity goals that keep you focused on doing more of the right things. We want your activities, like what happens is when you're in a rut, you start to focus on the big thing. You start to look for the next shiny object. And we can't really do that. We have to get super focused on just today. What can we manage today? What are the activities that we can handle today? What can we do just to kind of move the ball forward? And then how do we take a look at what's really going on? Because the majority of times, whenever you're in a rut, it's almost always because you've pulled things out. You're not doing the things that you were doing whenever you were being successful to get to those numbers. And the first thing you have to do is fix that and get back to the basics. And then you have to take a look at not overwhelming yourself and just getting tight on one thing today, right? And the big goal is on this, never go past 3. Like if you're in a real hole, like what we want to do with this program is make sure if you're in a hole, we want you to pull out of it very quickly, because if you're in a hole long enough, that's not really a pattern. That's just your life now. Your life has become a big, huge hole. And at most, I want you to focus on 3 activities. Just forget the long-term goal, get super, super tight on the short term. What would be some short-term goals, Joe, that you would like to hit? Because I mean, I already know a couple of your big, big goals that are, I mean, they're pretty freaking big goals, by the way. But what would be some short-term things you would like to focus on?
Uh, Pre-COVID, I used to walk 3.5 miles every single day. I've somewhat neglected my health, so even though I have business goals and plans on reaching them, I'm trying to figure out how to get back into a healthy mode. Prior to COVID, I had lost 60 pounds.
Yeah.
And because of COVID, I regained the 60 pounds. So that's probably a more important goal than on the financial side. I can deal with the financial side relatively easily. It's the willpower on the health side.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. And this holds true. You can be in a rut, financially, but you can be in a rut in your relationships. You can be in a rut in your spirituality. You can be in a rut with your the physical, your body, clearly. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a legitimate concern, because you only have one body, and you got to, we definitely want to work on that without question. And what happens too, all of those dynamics spill over into the other dynamics. It makes a big difference. How you do anything is how you do everything. And so you can't neglect one. If you've got one dynamic way out, then it does affect some of the other parts of your life, for sure. So obviously you know who to call, and you know who can help as far as that goes. There's plenty of people in your world that can help you with that. And just remember, motion doesn't mean progress in this space. Just because you're super, super busy and you got a lot of things going on, it doesn't mean you're getting a lot of production going on, right? Like that's
Very true.
Super, super, super important to think about that. Yeah. Next thing too, stop taking shortcuts. I mean, I'm bad about this. Believe me. I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to restart this program up and do these again is because this was a big one for me for a while, and it was like, man, what's all the things I'm doing that why am I not where I want to be right now? And this is a big one. Taking shortcuts. You get good, you figure things out, and you start to learn how you can do things. There's a difference in doing things the right way and learning it so well that you can do it much, much faster, or you can leverage other things. That's different than taking shortcuts. Taking shortcuts breaks up the foundation. It messes the foundation up, and you start to lose the thing that got you there. The foundation's super important. You're only going to grow your business, or you're only going to grow your physicalities only go so far with the foundation you lay for your exercise. So think in those terms, like, I cannot take shortcuts. You should be starting to look for ways to run your business more efficiently, but those are two completely different things, right? As the prosperity rises, I mean, this is a pretty basic thing. The work starts to wane. The intensity drops. I mean, it's just usually how it works. Okay. Another thing that happens, another part of this before we move on to number 3 is, really number 4 is, one of the big things that can happen is the character. I actually have seen this in a business outside of medical. It's a big business that I was working with. I watched this firsthand happen. Not only do the basics go out, not only do they start taking shortcuts that were technically not only unethical, but frankly pushing some laws. They also had their character. Their character went out the door. The people that were on top got super conceited. They got very. They were running their life on their ego and their pride, and they really created some legitimate issues. And I watched their business literally blow up. I mean, it was a multi-million, it's about a $4 million a year business that exploded. And they're really just now dealing with the ramifications of that. And it's because they let their character get out. And character means a lot. Character goes a long way. When you're on top, you have to be a more effective leader. So think about whenever you're in a rut, what can I do besides not taking shortcuts? How do I make sure that I'm focusing on myself to be a better version of me and keep my character in? All right. We never ever want to get lazy ourselves. Okay, number 4, when you realize that you're off track, obviously don't overwhelm yourself trying to determine a complete and in-depth plan. We want to trust the process and just do the next right thing, just the next right one thing right now. So that helps keep you from being overwhelmed. And so if I said, all right, what's the one thing, George, you could do right now to grow your business the fastest? What would that answer be?
I got a client call in an hour, making sure I'm prepared for it, and have done a good job on that end to have a good meeting, at least immediate. Right now, what can I do?
Yeah. Good. Are you ready for it?
Yep.
So think about this. How do you, if you feel like you're good on that, what would be the next thing you would do? What would be, like, for me, if I were consulting you, I'd say that's awesome. So you have this call coming up at 1:00 or whenever. So when's the next one? What have you done to get the next call and the next client on board?
Yeah, I think that's an area that I've lacked in, getting caught up too much in the work of the things I need to do. So that's something working on. I got Joe helping me on that too. So.
Oh, good. Yeah, it takes a minute. I mean, it definitely takes a minute. Okay. I mean, the big thing about this one is, when we want to get focused on just doing the next right one thing, is to not get paralyzed. That the paralysis by analysis thing is real. It's very, very, very real. And we don't want to do that. So just pick one thing and try to figure it out. And obviously reaching out to others and reaching out to try to get some help is a very, very, it's always a great idea. There's always people that are willing to help. If you can't figure out what that next great thing is or the next idea is, just reach out. There's experts out there that'll help. There's friends, there's people who can help, so that's really, really important. And that's something that you can control, right? Like, there's certain things that are out of our control, but there's certainly things that are in our